We're starting Be'ezra Hashem siman2 haGuela, and he's talking about the Navi Malachi. So now he's going to quote from a different part of Malachi, in Perek Beis. Before he quoted from Perek Gimel, and now he's going back to Perek Beis, the last pasuk of Perek Beis. V'oid tzavach haNavi Malachi. The Navi Malachi cried out and said, Hoigatem Hashem b'divreichem, that you offended Hashem, you tired Hashem, or you wore him down with your words. V'amartem b'meh hoiganu. You said, what did we do to hurt him, to offend him? Let's look at the translation that maybe Rashi gives in the Navi here. Hoigatem Hashem b'divreichem. Metzudas David says, Atem miyagim, like ayef v'yagea, tired. You are being tiresome, burdensome. Lifnei hamakom b'divreichem. Obviously Hashem doesn't get tired, so he says, V'diber akasu b'lashem b'nei adam. The Torah is speaking anthropomorphically about Hashem. Ki okel yisborach lo yiyaf v'lo yiga. But you're being tiresome in front of Hashem. Okay? And you said, what did we do? V'amartem b'meh hoiganu. And the answer is, Be'emarchem kol oisei ra toiv be'enei Hashem. You say that anybody who does wicked is good in the eyes of Hashem. Uvahem hu chafetz. And in that he desires. He desires people should do that. Oy ayeh Elokei HaMishpat. Or, where is the God of justice? So, Upirish Rashi, Lefisha atem roim derech rishayim tzalecha, because you're seeing that the wicked are successful. Oimrim atem bilvavchem, you say in your hearts, doesn't mean you actually say it, but you think in your hearts, echad mishnei dvarim drachim halal. You think one of these two possibilities. Kol oisei ra toiv be'einav. Either you think that anyone who is wicked is really good in the eyes of Hashem. Lachein hu matzliach oisam. Therefore, he's causing them to succeed. Oy im ein zois. But if that's not the case, then the second possibility is ayeh Elokei HaMishpat. Then where is the God of justice? She'eino nifra mehem. Why doesn't he punish them? V'chas v'shalom ein din v'ein dayim li'par mehem. There's no judge and no judgment to go and punish them. So in other words, this is kind of the age-old question of Tzaddik v'raloi and Rasha v'toivloi, right? Why, if there's justice in the world, if Hashem interferes in the world and punishes and rewards, then why do we see that tzaddikim are not successful and the Rishonim are successful? How could that be?
Where's that quote from?
Well, that's the Gemara brings this in Brachas, I think, Zion. It brings that Moshe Rabbeinu asked the question originally.
Right. And it's all this, of course, Pirkei was saying about din l'masav Hashem v'eflam esrei tzaddikim. And in Tehillim you have
Al Tisyayish Mina Pironius, right? Also,
in Tehillim you also have it. Befrach
Hashem K'moesev, right?
But even in like the one on Wednesday, like 90,
right.
It's another similar.
Right. Okay, so this is sort of the question here that you're saying when you see what's happening in the world. You say Hoigatem Hashem b'divreichem. You're tiring Hashem with your words, and what are you doing? You're saying either the wicked must be toiv be'enei Hashem. It must be we have it backwards. Maybe the Zionists are taka right, or if not, then where's Hashem? Why is Hashem not punishing them?
In English, I think there's also a word for it. They call it anti, CHRIST, something like that.
Yeah?
It's also like...
I don't know what that means. I heard that term, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah, I think it means something similar at the end of it. And Sholem Aged, actually, his lecture on the Satmar rebbe, it was exactly his lecture title, Satmar rebbe.
Yeah.
Zionism as the...
Okay.
I can show you that. Like, I think I showed it to you.
Okay, v'hinei b'yameinu eila. In these times, b'avonaseinu harabim niskaymo hanavua zois b'mloi muvan amila. Now this nevuah has completely come true, in its full sense. Lo yu'uman ki yisupar. The Rebbe cries out. He says it's not even believable. Sheyimtzu b'Yisrael, sheyimatzu b'Yisrael, that there should be found among Jewish people shoymrei Torah mitzvahs hamadaktikim b'kala v'kavachamura. From Jews who keep every single mitzvah properly, and still me'asrim zaydim They praise the wicked. Umaisei Rishoim, and the acts of the wicked, Uma'aminim b'nisei atzlachasam, and they believe in the miracles of their victory. V'shahashem yisbarach asa lahem nisim, they think Hashem came down and actually did nisim for them, shaloi kederech hateva, completely against nature, lahatzlicham b'milchamtum, to make them win their war, shehi neged ha-Torah, kasher yivur lahalam, which is against the Torah. Their war was against the Torah, as we'll explain. V'loi rak milchamtum zu, it's not just their war, v'chol pu'uloseim hem neged ha-Torah. It's not just the actions that the Zionists do there against the Torah. El shemiyoy mivastam v'yadata. It's from the day that Zionism was founded until today. Hidichu ruba deruba miYisrael l'minus kfir Rahman al-Islam. They actually convinced Jews to go off the derech and believe in kfira. Kasher yadu alachol, as everyone knows. V'tafsu bereshes akfira v'yashmad harba miYisrael. They grabbed into their net. They caught into their net most of, or many of the Jews. Oid bereshis mifalim, even before they became a state, when they were a movement. Uviyam makoidmim v'dachirna oid. I remember from the old days shatzadikim v'akdoishim b'dor shalafonenu, that the gedolei ador from before this generation tzaku mara v'irishu oilam. They cried out bitterly and they thundered around the world, against these people, these Zionists. Because they foresaw what would happen with it if they gained power. That they're a poisonous root. Now all of a sudden, first he's continuing. Now when they got power, they got a state, they got worse and worse. They increased the power of their shmad, their net, Rahman al-Islam, the Chalis called Beis Yisrael, to destroy the whole Jewish people, to take all the Jews away from Amunah. How could a Yid who believes think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants these apikorsim? That they should be the leaders of the Jewish people. And that you should go and do for them miracles, that they should succeed. They should be more successful. To go and continue uprooting all amunah from the hearts of the Jews. And to cause them to go off the derech. If people say that, Hashem wants them to succeed, you see that it was vain to serve Hashem. All the previous generations tzaddikim that they did serve Hashem b'mesiras nefesh, and they fought at their own personal risk against the Zionists. It's all they that were wrong. It's only them, the previous tzaddikim that were wrong. But fakir, only the founder of Zionism, Miyasid Akasa Risha, She'amar Lo Yizachar Shem Yisrael Oid, Afro Lepume, that he said there shouldn't be a mention of the Jews again, referring to, of course, like before Herzl's Zionism, he started thinking about different ways to solve the Jewish problem, right? And we know he wanted them to convert to Christianity, so he said, let's get rid of the Jews somehow. We'll get rid of them by converting them, or Plan B was get rid of them by making a state that's secular and has nothing to do with Judaism. So only that Rasha, who kivein Elohemes, he was the one who was right. V'yalsta b'yadoi, and he succeeded. Uv'yad b'ay koicha, and those who followed him succeeded. Shemin hashamayim, he skimu imahem, that Hashem agreed with what they wanted to do. La'asos lahem nisim, and he made miracles for them kedei levatzea es ma'aseim, to accomplish their deeds. Ulohaitzi lepoyel mizimasim ura, and to bring into the fruition their evil plans. Asher zeh shivtam v'kimasam kol hayoim, because everybody knows that's what the Zionists think about every day when they get up. They think, how can we shmad more Yidden? How can we spread our heresy around the world? For how can we uproot Torah and Yiddishkeit from the world? So therefore, anybody who thinks, even in thought, shekiyuma shel malchus aminis hazois hi l'rotzim lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that this state of Israel is pleasing to Hashem. V'shehu oisel lahem nisim, and He's doing miracles for them, machzikum, to keep them around, b'shiltonim, to keep them in power. Kedei sheyuchlu li'ischazik ba'akiris hadas, so they should be more powerful in their uprooting of Torah. Ulahavir rabim Yisrael l'shmad u'kvira, and by and bringing more Jews to Shmad. Harezem min garua harbe yoister me'ovid avodah zarah. He's a heretic, and he's much worse than someone who does avodah zarah. That's the end of this siman. I just want to comment though that one could ask a kasha over here. That Bishlama, if somebody was against Zionism, the Etzim, and against the state, and against the war, the 67 war, and then when the Zionists succeeded, he said that it was a nace and Hashem was helping them. So then, in other words, he's saying Shav Avoid Elokim. That same person who was against it before is saying, oh, but they succeeded, so it must have been that they were right? But l'chayra, that's not always the case. Most of the people who said things like that it was Nissim and they praised the Zionists, they weren't completely against Zionism to begin with. They were against maybe the Shmad that the Zionists did and different things that the Zionists did, but they weren't against the Etzim Hamadina. So the fact that they weren't against the war either, because the war, they said, everybody thought that the Arabs were coming to kick the Jews into the sea, and they thought that this is the only way, and the Zionists had to stand up and defend themselves. haGuela hashkim l'hargoi. So if that's what they thought, then it's not really contradictory to say that the Zionists succeeded, because even though the Zionists may be b'mikra Rishaim, right? But right now what they did was something that every Jew has to do: defend yourself. If you're in danger, defend yourself. So if they did that, and the Israeli soldiers were the ones who risked their lives to save everybody else, and they succeeded, so they succeeded. So let's praise them, at least for that, right? So it's not really a stira. It's wrong, but it's not really a stira to what they believed before. So it's not saying that I was vain, I was worthless in my belief before. Okay? But what I want to say is that the pshat is like this: that even though they thought that there was a sakana, and they thought that they were obligated to fight this war, but mitoich divreim, because they're saying this thing that the Zionists succeeded with b'derech nes, the impression is given to the world. It's not talking about what they themselves think. Maybe they themselves thought l'shem shemayim. They thought, this war was the proper thing to do, and you had to do it, and that's what they did. But the roishim that's given out to the world from such people's words is that Zionism in general was a good thing. So whether they meant it or not, that's what's going to come out. The Talmidim are going to say that, because you see, look, Jews were in danger, just like the Holocaust. Another Holocaust was coming, right? Nasser was going to kill everybody, and now they're going to go like sheep to the slaughter again. We can't have that. And now the Zionists got up and defended them. So it comes out, the roishim, the impression comes out from that Zionism was actually a good thing. So it comes out, really there's three levels of people who are bad. There's people who said openly Shav Avoid Elokim, that they originally thought Zionism was good, and now they're saying it's bad. Then people who praise the Rishaim but don't actually think that, but the impression gets given. And then the third madrega is what I'm talking about now. People who praise something that is mutter, according to them. They think that the war was a chiyuv to fight, but between the lines, it comes out that they're saying that they're really agreeing to the entire movement of Zionism. All right, and that's what the Rebbe is criticizing here.